Good afternoon. And today we have the honor of interviewing Miss Ashleigh Kast. She is a personal trainer who approached the health comprehensively. But today is going to be different. I'm not going to interview partially. I'm going to interview her professional expertise as well as she's a patient who got a treatment from Dr. Theodore Belfer, who we feature on our channel, and she had a treatment with Homeoblock and Appliance. And the main interest of today's conversation, she's going to share her professional expertise applied to her own treatment. And this treatment we mentioned on our channel from Dr. Belfer as well as from other specialists, and treatment is quite controversial according to different professional opinions. But today we're going to find out, I would say, the truth from the patient who experienced the treatment and who had the benefits, and she's going to share, just like a first line of experience. I'm going to tell you, first of all, we appreciate our audience, and we would like to know your questions to Ashleigh. Please share the word about our channel and click the like and share button. This way you help us to spread the word about our channel and promote our mission to make this world a better place. If you're a medical professional, please use the ground of our channel as a network, as well as you can post your problems, your solutions. We would like to know the answers to your questions or find the answers to your questions. Or in a way, if you participate in our channel, it would help us to solve the puzzles of obstructive sleep apnea, as well as sleeping next to the snoring partner, as well as troubles with right sleep in general. So I'm going to give you my short introduction about Ashleigh. I find out about Ashleigh from my patients who had actually Homeoblock treatment from my office. We do the treatment with Homeoblock and PAT. And he found me because Ashleigh shared her experience on social media. So potential of social media is enormous. And I connected dots. I listened to Ashleigh social media stories, and we both know important person. We know Theodore Belfer. So today, Ashleigh gonna tell us about herself. I would like to know, how did you find out about Homeoblock treatment, and how my favorite book played the role in that story. And we find out what was the steps, and we also have a lot of pictures, and I'm gonna post them as illustration of Ashleigh's story.
Cool.
So tell us your story. Absolutely.
So my story starts back in more like 2015, 2016. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm kind of a last resort for two kind of like main clientele, right? And one of those is like movement issues, chronic pain, that kind of thing, right? At the time, I was working with some of the best physical therapists in the whole world, right? And what we started realizing is that it was very difficult for me to even just shift over onto my left leg. I had issues like with my neck and jaw after having Invisalign treatment that didn't seem to be related to anything that they could understand. And eventually we just thought, okay, maybe it's time to like think about the placement of your jaw in your face, because that seems to be something that we can't really get around. And at the time, the only person that we were aware of who worked off of these principles was in Kansas. Things changed professionally and personally for me, and I just pushed it to the wayside, right? Slowly, I started like losing the ability to breathe through my nose, especially on the right side, very well. I had increasing like TMJ kind of pain, neck pain, kind of pulling, especially like on the left side of my traps all the time. And it just didn't seem to be anything that like we could really work around. And then flash forward to the pandemic where we all had time to kind of slow down, right? I had time to focus on this issue once again. And by then, like another kind of category of symptoms had started to become a bother to me as, like a, at the time, 33-year-old single female in New York, right? Like, and that's the aesthetic stuff. So I started noticing that I had like a double chin, even though I don't really have like a body fat percentage that would support that.
None, none.
Um,
It's all
so I
muscles.
was like, that's worrisome. I don't really like that. I also started like losing my upper lip, right? And then like looking into things like fillers for it. I was like, yeah, but like there just isn't any like lip tissue there. So like what is there to even fill in? Like this isn't good. And I started like something that I said to Dr. Belfer by the time I got to him was, I feel like my face is falling down my face. And he said to me, yeah, because it is.
I think it's appropriate time to show your picture, what
Yeah,
Dr. Belfer used into presentation. I'm gonna put it to the screen. That's
yeah.
um, actually original picture how you look in 2020, right?
Yeah, like my face was falling down my face. Look at that. I had those pockets on the side here that were starting to form too,
Yeah,
right? Like just this like extra skin hanging out.
yeah,
I did not like
yes.
that either.
No, 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 no. We all want to
It
stay
started
young
messing with my
forever.
confidence, that's my self-image.
No, no, all true. I want to feature how Dr. Belfer using that trick called chimera to, like to
Yeah.
divide you in two parts
Yeah.
and then do two left sides and two right sides. And especially you who work with the symmetry of the human body in general, that was
Mhm.
probably really interesting.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because he had me do that the first time I saw him, so he had me do that little trick where you take your hand and you split it and you just look at one side of your face at a time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I know how vision works. I know that, like, what we're visually seeing is maybe not reality, right? Like, your brain is kind of, like, taking an amalgamation of what it sees and displaying that to you, but then to see that my left side specifically was really falling down my face and my right side looked a lot younger was like, "Whoa." I am shocked.
Of course. Of course. Uh, but tell me, how did you find Dr. Belfer? I like that sophisticated story of the search for Dr. Belfer.
So, I had time, right? I was also in the middle of my treatment for chronic Lyme disease. So I've always had issues with that, and eventually, we kind of figured out, oh, that's actually because you had undiagnosed Lyme disease about 10 years ago. And I was always dealing with it pretty well until, just like most things, there's some kind of like triggering event. Things got very stressful within my personal and professional life. And that was kind of like the thing that pushed me over the edge, right? And the symptoms became unmanageable, and I sought help for that. I got that help. One of the hallmark signs of chronic Lyme is neck pain, right? And that did not completely dissipate with the treatment for the Lyme, just like everything, all my other symptoms did. So it kind of led me back to this again. And I was like, I wonder what's going on. And actually, another controversial figure we'll throw in here is Joe Rogan. I love the Joe Rogan podcast. Because he has so many different individuals on who are scholars, experts in their field, and you just get to learn about all these different things maybe you didn't even think about. And he had on James Nestor, which I was very interested in. Yeah, because breathing is something that's super important, like we used to think training wise, like when I first got into it 15 years ago, like the latest model, or at least that I was aware of, right, is, it's brain to your spinal cord, to your nerves, to your muscles to move the bones around, right? And that's movement. And now we know that it's more than that. It's that, but there's also this air pressure component within your thorax, so like your body without your appendages, that drives motion. It's air pressure, right? Air moving from areas of compression to areas of expansion that's driving motion. And so that's a very important part of what I do, is improving people's posture and breathing mechanics so that they can move better and accomplish their goals. And so James Nestor was on, and so I was excited about that one, and he mentioned his work with Dr. Belfer. And I was like, oh, that sounds a lot like the guy in Kansas that we were thinking I should go to many moons ago when I didn't have the means to address the issue. So I was like, okay, let me dive a little deeper. And Brett Weinstein, also another controversial figure, there's a pattern here, right? Had on Dr. Mew's son, so the younger Dr. Mew, to talk about this stuff. And that really resonated with me because I'm a last resort for people, like I said, right? Like, you come to me because whatever couldn't get solved any other way. And so for me, my goal is always not just to like treat a symptom, right? Or address a symptom or work around something. It's to understand what the root cause is of something. And so he grabbed me with that, explaining, the Invisalign treatment that I'd had was really just treating the symptom, that my crooked teeth were a symptom of the bigger problem, which was my face falling down my face and the position of the joints changing in a way that was compensatory and not optimal for me. And I was like, all right, time to call Dr. Belfer.
No, I
It was
think
great.
I want to reflect back on that. I think it's such an amazing story how you are advocate of your own health. You did the research, you find the resources, you analyze them if it's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you did it. I find a lot of, I want to give you a lot of compliments on that. It's really very special. And additional to that, you advise other people on their health. So, it take even more. It's like you're
And I think that
responsible.
was helpful, like having that background, right? Specifically, like the types of people that I work with, right? I work with a lot of girls with autoimmune diseases. And unfortunately, I mean, very fortunately, we live in a country where our acute medical system is fantastic. Like, we can respond to all sorts of traumas. We're super innovative. We can fix things, but we're not really great with chronic issues. And girls would come to me like, oh, well, I have, PCOS, but I want to run the marathon or I want to lose 20 pounds. And so who else does that fall on to solve that issue? So I've had to do that sort of research, step into the holistic world, do the training, align with people who are much smarter than me in that field to help my clients to get to the original goal, right? Like, maybe we have to address whatever that underlying autoimmune issue is, but ultimately just to get them to that goal of losing 20 pounds or running the New York City Marathon, whatever it was, because if we don't address those, we couldn't hit the original reason why they were coming for me. And also, me as someone with chronic Lyme disease, I don't know if you know this, but chronic Lyme disease is not something that's recognized in this country, specifically like within your state. So for insurance reasons, that's not covered by anything. Like, you get no help on that. And a lot of times, like, people don't think that it's a real thing and they don't know how to treat it. And so you have to really advocate for yourself in that department. So I am sort of, in a way, like, lucky that I have that kind of background in order to deal with this in the best way.
No, this is amazing story. And I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Yes, you mentioned the Lyme disease. A lot of people cannot find the help for that, or nobody believes they see symptoms. And I have a lot of, I know a lot of stories and have several people around me who suffer from that. So,
yeah. And I have people who have Lyme disease around me who got treated in a way that actually worsened their health, made things worse, right? Like, in the Western world that does so good with surgeries, traumas, responding to disease, right? Like infectious disease, they threw antibiotics at her for a year. It didn't work out very well. Her health declined. She didn't feel good. Like, it was not helpful. It didn't deal with the situation and it made things worse. And so to me, I approach everything with like a pretty I like to think healthy skepticism.
Right.
I
So
ask questions.
I want to go back to Homeoblock. Tell us again, what was your symptoms before you start treatment with Homeoblock?
So again, like kind of like two categories, right? Like I had like the functional body stuff, right? Where like I would get some headaches. The jaw pain was major. I had neck pain. Um, I had a hard time breathing through my right nostril specifically. And I really was losing the ability to do training on my left leg to center over my left side.
Got
And
it.
then aesthetically, which to me is like another group of symptoms, but still matters, right? Because like that's how I see myself. I did not feel good about myself. Was the pockets that were starting to form here, the upper lip that was disappearing. I really didn't have much cheekbone, especially on the left side. The double chin, like this was not good.
Got it. And tell us what happened after the treatment.
So pretty much everything has cleared up. I have the ability to center over my left leg again. Of course, it's like a work in progress, but we laid the foundation for me to be able to do that and use the principles that I would use normally to kind of unwind someone. Like they're actually working now. So I'm seeing my posture start to improve. I'm less turned to the left. If I sit up tall here, let's see. So yeah, my shoulders are a little more level than they were before. Like I was able to actually start to unwind some of those compensations to move and feel better.
Got it. I would like to ask you, what was your adaptation to Homeoblock? A lot of people, interested, especially after reading the book. They interested, but they concerned if they were able to adapt
To adapt to it?
to Homeoblock, to kind of get used to wearing that every night.
Oh, yeah. It's strange. Oh, I should also say that like something that improved was so my bottom teeth are still crooked, but they are a lot less crooked. They actually started to straighten out on their own, which is nice.
Yes, yes.
So wearing it at night, I mean, it was strange, right? Because you have like this thing that like is in your mouth while you're trying to relax, right?
Yeah.
And it is kind of like wiry in the front.
Uh-huh.
And now I don't know if this is like true, but I felt like so I got my tongue stuck in the wire a couple times that first night, and then I think it actually like cued me to place my tongue in the right place on the roof of my mouth. So it was
Uh-huh.
like it was a little pinchy at first, but it just taught me what to do, and I didn't do it again, and it was fine.
Uh-huh. But tell us about regimen with Homeoblock and about the
Mhm.
other appliance you have called pot.
So the pod has the block on the other side, right? It has the block on the opposite side from the Homeoblock, and it's great. Like actually Dr. Belfer did like a little bit of like a muscle test with me, like
Mm-hmm.
when I have the pod in and when I don't, especially like on the left side, so all my left appendages, everything was better with the left. So I actually wear the pod and I still do when I exercise. So that's like the hour of the day that I have it in. And we both kind of believe that that's really important because I'm creating a lot of tension when I lift, right? Like I like to lift heavy stuff. Um, that tension and the bite down on that side helps stimulate the tissue in there to kind of like rebuild, just like any other exercise training program does, right? Like basically what we try to do is we try to stress people's muscles, right? In a way that forces them to overcompensate and build back better, right? And so that's kind of like what we're doing to my face. We're building in new bone and tissue in that face while I wear that when I work out.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you pictures after the appliance. I know
It's
it's a kind of
wild.
even work in progress.
He
Um,
had me in tears when I first looked at this. Like I was like, "Oh my god."
yeah, this is. I know they are quite small for the screen, but it's visible what after the treatment your face got more cheekbones.
Mm-hmm.
And I
My
also
friends
want,
all comment to me like, "Oh, wow, what did you do? Like your cheekbones."
yes, and even with the eyes and like a whole face were moved up.
Yep. It's
And
much more symmetrical when I like do that left-right game now.
yes, and eyebrows are leveled, and I like these colorful pictures, especially what your lower jaw moved down and forward. But
Yep,
another,
I actually have a lip now, like Dr. Belfer. He won't lie to you. It's like really great. He's like very forthcoming, and he was like, "Hey, kid, look, you got an upper lip again." And I was like, "Yeah, isn't that cool?" He was like, "Remember, you didn't have one when you came in." And I was like, "Yes, I know, Dr. Belfer."
no, what part important to me, because we constantly do treatment for airway. This is the pictures of your airway, and on the right,
Mhm.
what's after treatment, your airway got
Yep.
bigger.
Yep.
And he said the tone improved. That's I cannot evaluate, but you can in a jaw alignment improve. But also this is very,
Yeah.
I think it's really important for you being a personal trainer to see what you got a different cervical posture. So tell us
Yeah,
about
isn't that
neck
crazy?
pain.
So the neck pain is so much less now. Like, I wouldn't say that it's like totally gone because I am still like kind of like unwinding myself, right? Like I said, everything's much more level and symmetrical, but I'm still a little bit turned to the left. There's still a little bit of work to do, so there's some pulling. And then also like what I think about it too is like I'm loading all of my tissues very differently than I ever have before. And everything's kind of sore, just like it would be if you were using it for the first time again, loading it differently. So like there's no like clicking and crackling in the jaw anymore.
Uh-huh.
There's no like debilitating headaches. Like there were 2 times prior to this treatment where like I literally I was like, I need someone who can do some trigger point to get this. I could not get anything to like shut up. Like it was making me nauseous. That's how much pain I was in.
My
None of
God.
that anymore.
No, this is a really dramatic improvement after that treatment. But I like how you describe, Homeoblock appliance is appliance that stimulate epigenetic potential.
Yeah.
So when you bite on that underdeveloped site, what we just show on the slides, you actually stimulate, the cells, and
Yeah.
the bone start growing and the muscles get more tone. Like it's kind of what we get understimulated with the soft food, with breathing through the mouth.
Yes.
You start stimulating, but this is one interesting feature. What it's kind of unilateral. It's
Yeah.
you are symmetrical and you compensate your
Yeah.
asymmetry in a way. But interesting thing what you mentioned, and I want to ask you more questions besides epigenetic potential. I want to kind of bring your memories back to the tongue position and nose
Hmm.
breathing.
Yeah.
Like that, I want to ask you what changes, with the nose breathing and swallowing or tongue position.
Hmm.
You remember what changes
Yeah.
before the appliance and after.
So the tongue position, like I just feel like I don't have great descriptive language for that to describe it accurately. But what I said to Dr. Belfer after he called my attention to it, right? Like it really had to be brought to my attention. And I thought, oh, yeah, you know what? Like more recently, it has felt like my tongue is kind of in the way when I swallow. But it's not something I ever really thought about. And then, like, once he started talking to me about tongue position, he was like, that's when I started to think about it and, like, become aware that, like, yeah, I have been swallowing a little bit weird. As far as the nose, that I knew because I like to do at least like once a week my long, slow cardio. I do that nasal breathing only because to me, it actually helps improve my nasal breathing. And it's
Yes.
also a great way to kind of like naturally regulate your intensity. Because, like, if you are going faster than you can breathe through your nose and you have to open your mouth, then you're probably going too fast, right? It's too much, it's too intense. So that's a good way to like naturally regulate things. And I was noticing that I was having like an increasingly hard time with it, which didn't make sense, right? Because I was training it. So theoretically it should get better. So that has improved. The right side is still a little obstructed, and I am aware of that. So he did
That's also
recommend that I
great.
go see an
That's also
ENT.
great.
Yeah. Like I still may need to go get the deviation corrected, so I probably will because like that's the way I am. I'm like, oh, can it be better? Okay, let's do it.
No, but tell me, I know you mentioned to me now prior to interview time, what exercise you personally do to stimulate yourself, use only nose? Like I like to hear it from personal
Mhm.
trainer because even I interview ENT on my channel and they said, oh, that's okay what people breathe through the mouth during the exercise, which I don't know how to respond. Tell me
Yeah.
what you as person
Well,
who see the results.
the way I see it, he's not wrong, right? It depends on what the intention and the effort is, right? So with that workout, I'm thinking like slow and low cardio, right? And so it makes sense for that to keep it nasal breathing only. However, as the intensity increases, right, you get up to like higher zones of intensity, you're going to need to breathe through your mouth also for ventilation, like proper ventilation, right? So it just depends on what your goal is for that session.
Got it. How do you make yourself breathe only through the nose?
I mean, that's the hard part in the beginning because there's like, we're not used to doing that, right? So in the beginning, there's a little like mental friction there and it feels difficult because it actually, like, probably, I guess, neurologically is like, I have to focus really hard on only breathing through my nose. I do know some people will tape it shut. In the beginning of my treatment, like I did tape my mouth shut at night. To me, like, when you're in the gym, it's a little weird to like have mouth tape on, you know? I don't mind being the weird one, but that's a little bit of a stretch. So I just close my mouth, you know?
Nice. I would like to ask you about the retention. Like right now, you're already done with the active treatment. You know, you got a lot of benefits. What Dr. Belfer or you feel is doing right for the retention after treatment process?
So right now, I'm no longer working with him because I don't need him anymore. Like he doesn't need to monitor the progress of like the reshaping and everything, I suppose. I hope I'm respecting him when I say that. Because you know, you have that Homeoblock appliance that you wear at night that kind of expands the size of your jaw. So periodically you're like screwing it open a little bit further. So I would do that. I would do it like twice a month and do just like a piece of a screw just to like make it very incremental and gradual. But now that things are lined up, I don't have to keep doing that, but I do keep wearing my appliances and supposedly like the bone and the tissue will continue to grow here, reinforce, get better.
Can you show us your PAT appliance?
Yes, it's this little guy here. Yeah. So like we're working on stimulating on the left side. So on the left side, you can see like it's more raised.
Yes, 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 yes. I see the additional piece of material, additional plane.
So I'm kind of like biting down on that when I train.
And I would like to ask you, do you see the better results when you're using PAT over than you don't use PAT?
So that's difficult to say because I only do it that way. So I don't really know, but I think both Dr. Belfer and I agree that it has been really helpful that I do it when I train to get that like extra tension and stimulation.
I have a question with the PAT. I don't know
Mhm.
if before you start the treatment, when you did some lifting, you probably squeeze your jaw. Did you have a TMJ pain when you did it without any appliance? Did you have that experience? I find sometimes people mention.
Yeah. It's hard to say because like it just kind of hurt all the time, you know? Um, like for me, I would say that my pain was more noticeable that it would ramp up during stressful times. So it's definitely like linked to like my nervous system function, right? Like if I was more
Absolutely.
stressed, it would feel more painful. I guess I would like to chalk it up to like I try to be very intelligent with my training. Like Dr. Belfer and I speak the similar language of PRI, Postural Restoration Institute, because so it used to be like when I was a trainer just getting started like over 15 years ago, to my knowledge, right? At the time I was a baby. My understanding of motion was that it was, you know, brain to your spinal cord, to your nerves, to your muscles to move the joints around, right? And then what I know now is that it is that, but we've got more information, and we know that movement is also driven by air pressure now, air pressure within your thorax, right? So like how you breathe is really important to your motion. So I take a really great focus on that because we are asymmetrical here, right? Like you've got, for instance, and even like how your brain works is different left to right, right? But like you've got your heart on this side, but you've got your liver on this side. And that changes the way that your diaphragm moves, right? So it's able to expand a little bit better on the right side than it is on the left. And all of us have kind of compensatory patterns that we use to get around that, right? Because the air can't move that way. So it's driving movement differently that way. Most of us have a harder time either centering over your left leg or turning to the left. And we have patterns built on top of that to get around that. So I like to think that like that more intelligent approach to training has helped also.
No, this is fascinating. I would say the information you share with us so related to what we do, and it's so fascinating because as a practitioner, I find what most of my patients have TMJ pain on the left. And I was always
Yeah.
wondering why. But now you explain it so well. So we really appreciate you, Ashleigh, what you answer the questions. And we're gonna put Christina will put your contact information as a personal trainer. Your level of expertise is very high, and I hope this interview help a lot of people and maybe help a lot of people to find you.
I hope so too. You know, I get a lot of people who come to my page because they don't find a lot of information about this stuff. I don't know if it's related to the controversy, but like Dr. Belfer's Instagram is very limited. You can't tag him
Yes.
in things. Posts that I make about him will get flagged on Instagram and taken down. And then I try to contact them and they have like no reasoning. It's very mysterious, which is strange. Like, I don't understand why. I know that there's controversy around these things, but I'm very happy with the treatment. This literally changed my life. He showed me the photos. I was in tears. I feel like I got my life back, you know? Like I have
This
the
is very.
ability to get better now. I got my self-confidence back. Like it's been wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing such intimate details with our audience. We're looking forward to continue working with you. Thank you, Ashleigh.
Thank you.